Hello. I'd like to talk to you today about a topic which you all know something about, which you've all experienced, which you've all endured, with particular reference to one facet of it, which perhaps you haven't considered very much. You'll see from the title. The title is, Where Do Exams Come From? Nearly everybody has suffered from exams, haven't they? Entrance exams, key stage exams, 11 plus exams, GCSE, AS level, A level, degree exams, professional exams, ballet lessons, acting auditions, trial games, and so on and so on. Every single one of them calculated to spoil your day. Has it ever occurred to you to wonder where they came from? Because they were not always there. Somebody had to invent them, like the wheel, or the castle, or the hedgerow, and not all that long ago. In the case of exams, only 5 or 6 generations. In fact, the very first ancestor of GCSE appeared in the same year as the school I work in, West Buckland, in North Devon. This was in 1858. Oxford and Cambridge had exams for degrees, but not for secondary schools, because there wasn't a secondary school system. There were the public schools, of course, and they sent boys to Oxford and Cambridge, and you didn't have to pass an exam in order to get in. All you needed was to be born into the right family, or be friends with the right people, or have enough money. But you didn't have to know much. Latin and Greek and the Bible were usually reckoned to be enough, both in school and in university. Latin, Greek, and the Bible. Mind you, Latin and Greek are not exactly a doddle, but many government ministers got by with very little more. Well, what about everybody else? How did ordinary people get jobs? How did they beat other people to it? What did they do without a certificate to wave in the air? They fixed things. That's what they did. They wheeled and dealed. They wrote creep letters. They bribed. They did favors. They sucked up to anybody whom they thought would do them a bit of good. Anything to get a job for their son or their nephew or their cousin. They didn't have to do it much for daughters or nieces. All they had to do for them was find a husband. This is not being callous. It was being practical. There simply were not the openings for girls. A prosperous, kind husband was a far better investment for your daughter's security than a dreary job as a governess or a bleak life as an overworked chambermaid. The only other prospects were the stage or the streets, and the one was reckoned to be not far from the other. Both were pretty close to perdition. So it was not what you knew, it was whom you knew, or got to know, and how you exploited it. One king, George III, reckoned, so it was said, that if you showed enough gumption, enough enterprise, enough cheek to get a job, then you were sharp enough to be able to do it. So why did this situation not continue? What produced the change? Quite simply, because there were now so many more people. The population was galloping up. The word competition began to creep in. The 19th century saw the rise of the three great competitive sports: cricket, football, and rugby. The greatest celebrity in the latter part of the 19th century was W.G. Grace, a cricketer. It is no coincidence that the most influential book of the mid-19th century was Charles Darwin's great work, The Origin of Species, which was all about the survival of the fittest. This huge new population needed houses, railways, canals, dockyards, everything. A new profession was born, engineers. You couldn't have them building all these things knowing only Latin, Greek, and the Bible. everything would fall down. They had to become knowledgeable, qualified, and they had to prove it. Hence, exams. Passing meant promotion. One of the great achievements of the French Revolution was the idea that you should get promotion not because you were rich or well connected or you had blue blood in your veins, but because you were smart. How did you prove it? Exams. The government quite liked the idea of exams. It meant that whatever schools there were would have to smarten their ideas up a bit so that their pupils could pass. So standards would be raised and nobody would have to complain about paying more taxes. It meant that anybody who wished could take the exams, so nobody could complain of discrimination. It could be run by the universities, not the government, so it was no trouble. It was nationwide. It was fair. It was democratic. It was frightfully modern. And it was cheap. It's too good to be true. There were 4 men who pioneered these new exams for secondary schools. And amazingly, all 4 were connected with West Buckland School. One was Frederick Temple, Bishop of Exeter. He knew the school, came once to present the prizes. The second was Sir Thomas Dyke Ackland, a prominent Devon landowner and an early director of the school company. And the man, incidentally, who laid out the very first course for the Exmoor race in 1859. The other 2 were the Reverend Joseph Brereton and Earl Fortescue, the 2 founders of the school. Temple, Ackland, Brereton, and Fortescue, all linked, as I said, with West Buckland. Boys sat the very first nationwide secondary exam in the same year that West Buckland was founded. Within 4 years, West Buckland boys had done so well that Cambridge University agreed to set up an exam centre in the school, the very first. All the other exam centres were in big cities. There were league tables too, as early as the 1860s. West Buckland produced boys who came individual top in the whole country. So Stone in 1874, Chope in 1877, Potbury in 1881. If you're not connected with West Buckland, I'm sorry, these names won't mean anything to you. In 1895, to show you how democratic it was, top of the whole country, William Stradling, the son of a milkman. West Buckland passed the highest number of candidates of any school in England, 3 years running. Top of the league, no less. So if you study at West Buckland and you're searching for someone to blame for helping to start these wretched things called exams, you don't have to look very far. Goodbye.